Hey guys, my name's Jordan and welcome back to my gaming channel named It's Game Productions, and today I'm back with another much requested video of a build for a gaming PC, and this time it is going to be a gaming PC under £750 and $950 depending on where you are coming from, because obviously US people use dollars and British people use pounds, unfortunately. Not entirely sure with regards to euros and stuff like that, but what I have done is I have provided, well, in the description there will be provided a PC part picker list for each of these builds depending on your region, just so that it will just enable you to buy all the things, like see them all at the cheapest prices you can get them for and everything like that. So yeah, it just works really well with PC part picker, so be sure to check out the description for those things. But anyway, we'll just get straight into it. So with the processor choice, I've chosen to use the AMD FX 6300. This is a 6-core processor clocked at 3.5 GHz, so it's blazingly quick, and also because of the fact that the next gen consoles are going to be x86 and are going to be utilising 8 cores, it means that games now are going to be made much better to be multi-threaded. So having those extra cores and also that raw power of 3.5 GHz is going to be really helpful. This CPU is overclockable as well, so it shouldn't be too difficult to overclock, although I would recommend you go with some sort of aftermarket cooling solution, something like a Hyper 212 Evo by, I couldn't tell you who it was by then, I think it's Cooler Master, maybe the Hyper 212 Evo, something like that. But basically just go with some sort of aftermarket cooling option before you choose to overclock, and you will be fine and dandy with that sort of thing. But it is really good processing, especially because of the new consoles being x86 and utilising so many cores. It is going to be really future proof. Also, it's going to be really good if you want to edit video on it as well. Those extra cores really do make for a lot faster video editing, and it just all in all is a pretty good CPU, especially for the price as well. I mean, 6 cores at 3.5 GHz for like $120 or about £70 is just incredible. So moving on to the motherboard, I've gone with the ASRock 990FX Extreme 3 motherboard. This is a full ATX motherboard. It's got enough RAM slots for 32 gigabytes of RAM. Apologise for that little error there. So that's 4 sticks of RAM, and I just think it's a really good motherboard. It's especially for the price as well. It's a 990FX chipset, which means it will support both Crossfire and SLI. It's got 2 full-speed 16x PCI Express ports as well, which mean that you are going to get the full benefit from using 2-way Crossfire or 2-way SLI, or 4-way if you go for like a dual GPU card, but that's just crazy. But yeah, so it's really future-proof motherboard. It's got the AM3 Plus socket on it, so the processor's going to fit. And you can always upgrade the RAM in it as well, because it's got those 2 clear RAM slots, which means you can add an extra load of RAM just to get it right up to speed. So it really is a really future-proof motherboard. So moving on to the RAM, being as we were just speaking about it, I've chosen to go with 8 GB of Mushkin Blackline memory at DDR3 1600 MHz, so it's pretty fast RAM. 8 gigs is perfectly fine for gaming nowadays. You're not going to use any more than that, to be honest, although Call of Duty Ghosts has said that the recommended allowance is 8 gigs, but that's just mad. I really doubt it's going to use that much. No game I have at the moment on my PC uses more than my 8 gigs of RAM. Anywhere near it, to be honest. Most games nowadays probably use about 4 gigs of RAM maximum. But then, as I said, the motherboard has got that extra space for adding more RAM, and also DDR3 1600 MHz is plenty fast enough for gaming. You really don't need anything faster than that. You could probably get away with 1333 MHz if I'm honest, but I just went with 1600, just it's a little bit faster. Moving on to the hard drives, I've gone with 2 hard drives on this. I've gone with a Samsung 840 Evo SSD, 120 gigabyte model, which is really fast. You get 540 megabyte a second reads off this thing, which basically means you're going to be able to boot into Windows in a matter of seconds and load up your games with virtually no loading screens whatsoever. It is a super amazingly fast SSD. It's got 410 megabyte a second writes as well, so you can pretty much just abuse this thing with how fast it is. And then it's 120 gig, so you'll be able to fit your operating system, probably about 4 different games on it, which is just going to be perfectly fine. You can have all your most played games on there and just play them with literally no loading times whatsoever, which is just going to be incredible. Moving on to the storage hard drive, I went with the Seagate Barracuda 1TB drive. It's a 7,200 RPM drive, so it's pretty fast. It's got a terabyte of storage, so plenty of storage for all your needs, and I pretty much swear by Seagate drives. I've been using them for the past 4+ years now, and recommending only Seagate drives to my friends, and I've never ever had one hard drive fail on me that was Seagate. So I can't really give them much more of an endorsement than that, except from the fact that I just have never had one fail on me. Moving on to the graphics card, I've gone with the Gigabyte Radeon R9 280X. It's a 3GB graphics card. It's really, really fast. If you don't know, the R9 280X is actually equivalent to a 7970 GHz edition, pretty much. So it is a blazingly fast card, especially for 1080p, and even resolutions higher than 1080p. If you wanted to go like 1440p or something like that, then you would just be able to absolutely just get massive, incredible frame rates in pretty much any game. If you want to know how fast it is, then just go on Google and look for benchmarks using this card. It is just blazingly fast. It's also got HDMI outputs, DVI outputs, pretty much all the outputs you'd need to connect it to either a TV or a monitor, so you're pretty much sorted for everything like that. And it's just going to be insane in games, basically, and that's what this PC is designed for. It's a gaming PC, hence why it's the most expensive component. Moving on to the case, I went with the Corsair Vengeance C70 case. It's a full ATX, well, it's a mid-tower ATX case, which basically means that you can fit your full ATX motherboard in there, but it's not going to take up too much desk space, which is obviously key. It's also got really nice carrying handles on it, so if you ever want to take it anywhere, you just pick it up by these carrying handles, and it just works really well. It's also got tons and tons of cooling options in it, so you can choose to water cool it in the future if you wanted to, or just add an absolute crap ton of fans and keep it really, really cool. And moving on to the power supply, I went with the Corsair CX 600W power supply. This is a semi-modular power supply, which means you're going to be able to keep it really nice and clean in there. Make sure you're not going to have any messy cables, which you don't really need in there. 600W is perfectly fine for this system. It's more than enough for this system. This system's estimated watt usage is 405 watts, so you've got about 195 watts of headroom to play with, really, with regards to the power supply. If you were planning on cross-firing it, then I probably would suggest you go with a slightly higher wattage, maybe something like a 750 watt or above. But yeah, it's perfectly fine for this build at the moment, and probably for the future, depending on what sort of things you add to it. Moving on to the operating system, I've gone with Microsoft Windows 8. You can get away with the OEM edition of this because you are building the computer yourself, so you do get it at a reduced price. Now, Windows 8 is really, I'd have to suggest it now for gaming. I wouldn't have before. I would have suggested Windows 7 for gaming, but now, because of the fact that there is DirectX 11.1, 11.2 on Windows 8 and 8.1. If you don't know already, Windows 8.1 is a free upgrade for Windows 8 users. Just go into the store and just click to upgrade to Windows 8.1. It basically includes DirectX 11.2, and really does boost your frames per second as well in games such as Battlefield 4 or other games which utilise it. So it just is the solid choice now for gaming. You can make it a bit more like Windows 7 by installing something like Classic Shell or something along those lines, just to make it run a little bit more like Windows 7 and just make it a bit more user-friendly, if that makes any sense whatsoever to you guys. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching. This has been my build for under £750 or $950. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do build it, let me know what it went like in the comments. Also, if you have any requests for other prices or things like that, then just let me know, and I will be sure to, well, I will try to do a video if I consider it to be feasible to do so. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Please subscribe, rate, comment, all that good stuff, and goodbye.